Um, and he didn't believe I was going to leave Japan, but I did. After 2 meetings, and I just left everything behind. I left my amp and a lot of my clothes and my stereo and everything. I just took a couple of guitars, my bass, and my Gibson 340 TD, and went over to England without anything. And Jake took me over to Decca, and Dick Rose said, "I really can't see this happening, but don't worry, because I'm the guy who turned down the Beatles." Okay. Well, not having the money to make demos, and whatever I had recorded being Japanese and, sort of a little bit dated by that time, sort of stuff that was in English. We went around record companies with acoustic guitars and auditioned, and we ended up at Rack Records. And Mickey Most's brother Dave liked, what I was doing musically, and I sang stuff live, acoustic guitars. It's just me and Jake playing acoustic guitars and singing songs. And Dave wanted to get a publishing deal going with Rack. And Mickey walked in, Mickey Most, and he said, "I've got a song for you." And what's that? He played "Touch Too Much," which was written by Mike Chapman and Nicky Chin. So if you can do this song, I'll give you a deal. So I went on and learned the song. And the next day, we were put on retainers and in England. Staying in England. I had a record deal in England. So 6 months after I got to England, I was in the British charts with "Touch Too Much," in top 10. And the Arrows got popular very quickly. And we went on tour with Suzi Quatro a lot in 1974 and 75. And, I don't know. I'll just say that Arrows probably didn't suit the label. We didn't fit the label's mold. And that became more evident as time went on. And against Mickey Most's wishes, we took on management. And it was a big mistake, because you just don't go against the record company boss's wishes. That's not what you do. And so we were mutineers on the Rack ship, and basically Arrows walked the plank, and there I was again. One interesting thing was Vodka Collins was with EMI, Japan, and the Arrows also with EMI England, distributed by Rack, through Rack. Anyways, all EMI connections, which is why the Arrows didn't make it big in Japan. You see, by my leaving during the recording of Tokyo, New York, the people in Japan who were in charge of that project had lost face, so they couldn't promote the Arrows in Japan. It's a pity, because I already set everything up. If we'd been with any other label, it would have been easy sell, but that wasn't the case. Anyway, end of the Arrows, 1977. We went our separate ways, and I started a band called Runner with Steve Gould from Rare Bird, who had been playing with the Arrows in our last phase live. And we were signed to Island Records in America, and Acrobat Records, distributed by Arista in England. We charted in America, so it's all the labels I've been with right now, It's just, the mind boggles. This was adult-oriented rock, and completely different than the Arrows pop. It was sort of more like Traffic or Bad Company. So that was quite an interesting musical leap. And we started our second album, and because a couple of guys in the group refused to tour, the label dropped us. If they spend £1 million on a record, you really should promote it. And it wasn't me. I really wanted to tour. Ironically, at the end of the era of Runner, we all went on to heavy touring situations. Steve Gould and Mick Fiat with Alvin Lee, and Dave Dowell, the drummer, with Maggie Bell's Night Flyer, and I went on to tour with Rick Derringer on his face-to-face tour. He was going for 9 months out of the year on the road. And I ended up writing 3 songs on the follow-up album, Good Dirty Fun, which was Rick's last rock album, which was on Gem Records. And after I left Derringer, I did a solo album on Polygram, which was not promoted for political reasons that have nothing to do with me. You can read about that in my book. And my autobiography, which I'm working on, which tells very complex, very difficult to write, because my career has been crazy. After my album on Polydor didn't work out, and my production company that I was signed to Polygram through collapsed, I moved on to play with Meatloaf. I did the Blind Before I Stopped tour and the Meatloaf Live at Wembley album, 1987. I played with Meatloaf for the same amount of time that the Arrows existed, actually, around 3.5 years, something like that. And then, when that was finished, I did Encyclopedia Brown, which is where I started to become an indie artist. And I put out my first indie single on vinyl, Whodunit, from the show Encyclopedia Brown, which I recorded in my house. And on a Fostex 8-track, and pressed up on a pink vinyl, MEC Records, Merrill Entertainment Company. Yes, the Merrill Entertainment Company, MEC Records. And then I became an independent artist, and there's a lot of stuff out there on compilations on major labels still that I'm on, but I've been an indie artist pretty much since the mid-90s. Actually, Bucka Collins had a reunion in the mid-90s, and I did 4 albums with them, so it's not strictly true. I was with Poly Star Records for 2 albums in Japan, and Tower Records as well. Tower had a label called Bounce Records, and so that was my last sort of corporate label affiliation, and it's that. And I've been an indie artist ever since, happily so. I got about 8 to 10 albums out indie. Very happy with it, and happy with the way everything's worked out. So that's the story today.